Hi guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the EMU Teak headphones. Now I was very much excited to actually receive these in the post, simply because I actually own the Denon AH-D5000s, which you might see in the background, that have been heavily modified. And I just wanted to see what the hype was about the Teak headphones. Notably because a lot of people said these are very much the better sounding Foster or Fostex driver headphones that you can find out there. So in this review, I'll be comparing them almost all the time to my own Denon headphones, which I've been using for years, and also be commenting on a variety of different things which I feel that other reviewers have kind of missed out on in terms of comparison, in terms of talking about. So I will be covering that as well. Now, I should mention the headphones came directly from EMU, or Chan, who's the owner of EMU. I am not sponsored, I'm not paid. I've got no bias whatsoever towards the brand. I actually really like what they do in terms of affordable sort of gear, because I've received their gear before, such as their bookshelf speakers, which is the cover for the bookshelf speakers. And I've been very impressed with what they offer. So I was very much intrigued to see how good or bad the Teak headphones were. Now I should mention, in terms of package content, I know I'll show you these all in a bit. The only thing that will differ, and the thing that you can't actually buy as such, is this wooden case. This wooden case is apparently sent out to reviewers, and Chan chose to send me this wooden case, which it looks beautiful, but doesn't really help with the review because people who are watching it, like you guys, will not have this case. At least from what I'm aware, you can't actually purchase it as an extra. Now the headphones themselves come in two variants. There's the wired version, which you can see over here, and then there's a removable cable version. The removable cable version costs $500, whilst these cost $450, so $50 less. Now, I will go into length as to why you should get a removable cable version, but I'll leave that to go out throughout the review. Now, what Chan also sent is some additional wooden cups. The wooden cups that he sent were the bamboo cups. And the bamboo cups are the blackish looking ones, which are on the left side driver. And on the right side driver, you've got the normal Teak version. The reason I mention, and the reason I have it like this, is just so that you can see the difference. And when I have a close-up, I'll show you how you can remove it and all of that. And also talk about these sound quality differences between the two finishes, aside from the actual design. Now the cups, additional cups, at least these bamboo cups, cost $100 extra, so do bear that in mind. And then moving on from that, you've also got the sheepskin pads. Now the sheepskin pads are also an additional extra, which cost $40 a pair. Again, these do affect the sound quality and differ in terms of comfort and in terms of the padding. All these things I will be covering in this review. So without further ado, let's get into this review. So first off, the build quality and design. Now the headphones have the same sort of blueprint as the original Denon headphones. In fact, they're absolutely identical in every single way. Now the Denon D7000s, from what I'm aware, have a slightly different look from the D2000s and 5000s, mainly because they were Denon's flagship at the time. But you can see the construction is absolutely identical. From the headband assembly, to the padding at the top, to how the drivers act. So, in terms of design and build quality of the headphones, these are very much a stay-at-home headphone. They're not made to be taken on the go, and in terms of clamp force, the actual clamp force and how much they go on your head is pretty loose, which is actually fantastic because if you wear glasses like myself, then you're not going to find that they're going to be uncomfortable after a certain period of time. Whereas a lot of audiophile headphones nowadays, for some reason, have got a pretty strong clamp force and therefore feel really annoying on your head after, like let's say 2 hours of listening or gaming. Now in terms of the headphones, before getting into the actual ins and outs of the headphones, I do want to talk about the pads. As I did say, I was going to talk about the pads. Now the stock pads look like this, whilst the sheepskin ones look like this. So these are the differences between the headphones. Now, well, the pads, sorry. Now what you'll see directly is that the sheepskin one has a slightly smaller diameter for the ear, however has a little bit more padding on the left hand side, or the larger side. As you can see here, the differences, they're very similar, but the sheepskin one seems to be a little less raised than the stock pads. However, the differences really come when they're around your head, and I can't show this on a video, but what it does differ is that in terms of squishiness, they are very much more, a little bit more a little firmer and a little less hollow feeling, whereas these feel like there's just basically foam inside and feel a lot hollower. Now what that means is that in terms of the overall soundstage that you get with these sheepskin ones seems a little bit more closed, simply because you've got a little less space between the drivers and your ears. However, in terms of comfort and in terms of how that actually affects your overall listening experience, I would say the sheepskin ones are actually are really nice in terms of the overall price you're getting. $40, I would definitely say I would much prefer these over my ears over 2 to 3 hours of listening over these ones. However, if you're a short-term listener, then both of them are pretty going to be acceptable. Now, the comparison doesn't stop there, because I've actually got quite a few other pads. Notably, these are the original Denon D2000 pads, and actually the cups are over here as well. Now, the original pads, you can see the pads are a lot wider in their diameter. Now, what I did do is play around with the pads. I put each pad on the headphones and saw how that actually affected the sound quality and, of course, the comfort. Now, for someone like myself who has relatively large ears, what I found is that these two, as in the ones from Emu, didn't feel as comfortable as the stock Denon or the Lawton Audio pads, which I've got over here. And these are the ones actually I use on a daily basis with my Denon headphones. The reason behind that is because of the diameter of the hole over here. It's a lot larger on the Denon one and the Lawton Audio one versus the ones provided by Emu. So as a point of improvement potentially for the future, I would say that Emu should really adopt a larger circumference when it comes to the diameter of the actual hole. What made that sort of difference in terms of sound is that these two pads felt they had a little bit more airiness to them, a little bit more openness to them. And specifically with the Lawton Audio ones versus the stock Denon ones, or actually all of them, to be honest with you, it kind of made the sound feel just that little bit more precise and exactly how I liked it. Now, people who are non-audiophiles will think this is a bit crazy, but honestly it does make a difference, specifically when you're listening to them all for a long period of time. You're going to notice those small little differences, and out of the four over here, the Lawton Audio pads come out on top, then followed by the stock Denons, then from the lambskin ones, then the stock Emu. So anyway, your mileage may vary, choose whatever you want, but they all use the same sort of mechanism, shall I say. They have this little plastic ring, and then, well, this one doesn't because I removed it, but they all have this plastic ring, and then you just adjust it, and they are very much cross-compatible with the other Denon headphones as well. So now, with the pads out of the way, let's talk about the headphones themselves. I'll get onto the cups in just a bit, don't you worry. Now, the headphones themselves have got an adjustable headband, for those who are unaware. As I said before, the headband as well is not too strong in terms of clamp force. What I did find is, this might seem very trivial, but the sides over here are very sharp. It's something that is not as sharp on my current headphones. I don't know if that's because of overall use and wear and tear, but nevertheless, the parts over here are quite sharp, so just do bear that in mind, that if you do pick them up, you might actually hurt yourself when you're picking them up from here, as in by accident, for example. Other than that, the cable. Now, God, I don't know why Emu were even thinking this. Chan, why did you guys think of this sort of cable would be a good idea? Now, this cable that I've got over here is the stock cable with the non-removable version of the Emu Teak. Now, here is a stock Denon D2000 cable. You can see it's been removed because I had to recable it. Now, the reason I replaced my headphone cable was, one, because it was too long, 3 meters is way too much, and two, because it frailed all too often, to the point where it just became really annoying. Now, these cables, I don't feel are going to fray, but they're so stiff. I mean, I don't know if that really demonstrates how stiff the cable is. The cable is so stiff to the point that you have to use it in a certain way. And you can see over here, I've just put those little things to keep the cables a little bit more tidy, like cable tie. But still, the cable is just so stiff. And that's not just at the main part of the cable, it's also over here. The cable which goes into the actual headphones, you can see right here as I'm doing this, it's just really stiff. Now, some people might be like, oh, well, that's really good in terms of durability, but when it comes to actual using, in comparison to even the stock Denon cable, which is a lot more flexible, it means this is a lot more comfortable, and therefore the cable doesn't get in the way, let's put it that way. It just moves around your body rather than you having to move around the cable's body. Now, in comparison to a Denon D7000 cable, which I'm just trying to get into shot over here, God, it's an absolute mess in my room right now. This cable is an absolute dream, and it's the cable I use currently, and it's been terminated by a 3.5mm jack. It is really nice and soft, and it doesn't fray easily at all, and the cable over here which goes into the headphones is nice and soft again. So when I said I would highly suggest you guys get the removable cable version, I can't stress that enough. It is a complete waste of money, as in, if you're paying $450, pay that $50 extra and get a removable cable version. These cables are just horrid in so many different ways. I just absolutely hate them, to the point that I actually told Chan, if I get to keep these headphones, I'm actually going to chop the hell out of these cables and recable them, because I just don't like them whatsoever. So now, I've got my little grip out of the way of the damn cable. Let's talk about the headphones themselves. Now, the headphones, as I mentioned before, come with the beautiful teak finish. Now, this finish is absolutely sublime. If you look at that, the reflections, the finish, how it's nice and smooth, completely clean. It looks like one of those custom-made Denon or Fostex cups that you find out there. In comparison to the Denon ones you can see over here, it just doesn't look as good. The IMU Teak really stand out. So in terms of aesthetics, I think what IMU have done here over here with the Teak actual cup is fantastic. It's beautiful. I do have to say, however, it would have been good if they actually dampened the cups a bit. It does change the overall sound frequency, but the cups aren't dampened. However, if you look at the stock Denon D2000 cup, these are actually a little bit dampened. I think a dampening of these cups would actually do them some good. I didn't do that modification. However, it's something that you should bear in mind. Now, with my cups, I can't remove them because I actually super glued them on. After a long time, I realized I'm never going to get the cups out ever again, neither the cable, and therefore just super glued them on. So I can't actually get this out to actually show you. I could potentially heat them up, but I don't want to ruin my headphones. So anyway, those are super glued on. I would show you that, but what you can do is go down on a link in the description below to my website, where I actually removed the cups and showed you how you can put some D5000 or any sort of cups on a D2000 headphone. Now, as I said, I also got the bamboo cup as well. Now, what I did find is the bamboo cup did have a different sort of sound signature. Now, before I get into the sound signature, in terms of design-wise, I don't think it's anywhere near as nice as the default Teak one. So I know aesthetics might seem a little bit trivial to some, but personally, I love looking at my headphones every now and then, just glancing up and seeing them just kind of shining there. The Teak sort of finish looks fantastic to me. The wooden, the grain, everything looks beautiful, whereas the bamboo one just doesn't look that great. Now, in terms of the sound quality differences between the two cups, there is a slight difference. Now, I would say that the bamboo cup essentially has a slightly more laid-back nature. It's a little less punchy in the mid-bass, and sort of the soundstage feels just that little touch airier. Now, the differences aren't massive. It's very slight over here, and it very much is the same case when you're moving between different wooden cups, specifically if you're using the same driver headphone. It is a complete different thing when you're comparing a plastic cup versus a wooden cup, however. The difference between this plastic cup and the wooden cup on my own Denons, it's kind of not saying night and day difference, but there was a massive difference in terms of the overall sound quality. So here we're comparing two different woods, essentially, and the difference it makes in terms of the resonance and in terms of how it actually affects the sound quality of the headphones. And in this respect, I did find that I saw myself gravitating towards the Teak headphones. Now, the reason I had them both like this, as in you know, the headphones like that, is simply because I was transitioning between a mono signal and then alternating between left and right and trying to listen out to the differences. I did also completely disassemble the Teak one and put them bamboo only, and then did vice versa with the Teak. However, the differences are so minor that I had to really kind of test left and right constantly to really hear the differences. So yes, if you do want to alter the sound, you can do it with the Teak headphones. However, I do feel that the stock Teak cups themselves sound fantastic and also look beautiful. Now, in terms of removing it, it's very, very simple. There's a little, I got a screwdriver over here, and you essentially get that little screw over here, undo 4 of them, and then the cup comes out. And there you have it, the cup is out. So it's actually really simple to do it. As I mentioned, unlike the Denon headphones, can be a little bit of a pain to do, but nevertheless, here they are. And this is how the bamboo one, again, looks like from the inside. But what you're gonna be more interested about is actually the driver itself. Now, I'm gonna be alluding to this because I'm gonna go into the sound quality section very soon. However, this is how the driver looks from the inside, exactly the same as my Denon headphones did. Very same in terms of cabling and in terms of how the driver sits as well within the actual frame of the headphones. So now, before we move into the sound quality traits, I just want to show how it actually looks like on the head. So these are with the stock pads that would come with the headphones, and just to show you how they actually look like, you know, around the head, just in case you're wondering. Now, sound quality. This becomes really fun, because there was something that really baffled me with these headphones, something I've never heard before. Now, what I'm going to show you right now, and you'll be wondering why on earth I'm showing you this, is a little clip from Destiny 2, the game Destiny 2. Now, in this clip, what happens is you hear at the back right a little bloop sort of sound happening. I don't know how else to say that. It's essentially like ammo crates coming back and you get some ammo. Now that happens at the bottom right, kind of your head. Imagine your head is this kind of headspace. It's at the bottom right hand side. Now when I start shooting the gun, you should hear the sound going progressively in the right way. And then when these enemies reappear in this kind of training arena, the enemies reappear in the respective orders, and where they reappear, there's kind of a whoosh kind of sound that appears, and therefore you know where that enemy is, and it kind of reappears at that sort of place. So with that in mind, try and listen out to those little things that I just said, and I'm going to roll the clip. So now you've heard that little clip, and you might be wondering, why on earth did I just watch that? What's the purpose of that? Well, when I was listening to the Teak, when I was plugging them in via my Cord Yugo 2 DAC, or when I was using them via my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus and just plugging them in via the 3.5mm jack, those positional cues that came across in a game, it didn't matter if it was Destiny 2 or let's say when I played Counter-Strike or Apex Legends, different games, different platforms, different ways that they kind of reproduce sounds, but all, you know, coming through my Cord Yugo 2 DAC or via recording that then I kind of transported over to my S10 Plus. The positional cues were off almost 80% of the time. Whilst 20% of the time, the Teak just handled that sort of sound positional cues in games flawlessly. It really got me baffled, because not only was the first time I've ever experienced something like that on a set of headphones, but when I was comparing them to my own Denon headphones or the open back Hi-Fi Man Sandara, which I've got over here, those two headphones didn't suffer from that same problem. So it really struck me as something very, very weird, and something that, as I said before, reviewers haven't covered. How does these headphones sound when it comes to gaming? Well, simply put, in terms of gaming, it gave me a headache. And the reason it gave me a headache is because the positional cues were all over the place. So when I was shooting an enemy front on, and there was an enemy, let's say, you know, top left, I would hear the sound coming from bottom right or bottom left, which made me turn myself and then get shot from behind because I've just turned around. It's happened all too frequently, to the point where I just couldn't wear the headphones anymore when it came to gaming. In fact, as I use headphones mainly for gaming, it meant that these headphones basically sat by my desk and collected dust. And it's something that no other reviewer, as far as I'm aware, has really kind of touched upon, because they look at it in terms of an audiophile grade headphone only and look for, listening to their FLAC tracks on whatever music player they use and whatever platform they use, and only comment on that. There's a lot of aspects that you'd be using headphones for, and one that's ever growing is gaming. If there's any updates whatsoever in terms of that, or any sort of mystery as to why this happens, I'll be sure to post it down in the comments below. With that out the way, that does not, and I can't emphasize this enough, make them bad headphones. Yes, they weren't suited for my gaming, and they didn't suit in terms of the way that I played, or the fact that I needed really good positional cues because of my FPS games. But when I switched to music, these things were an absolute dream. Now, I've reviewed the Denon AH-D5000, the more recent Denon headphones. They've kind of gone back to this kind of old school design. And in terms of other headphones from, Sennheiser HD800s, HD20s, HD800S, Fostex TH900s, to the Denons, the ones I use on a daily basis, and then like the Hi-Fi Man Sundara, again fantastic. All these headphones I'm mentioning are fantastic. But when it came to music, these Teak essentially just blew everything out the water for me. Now, don't get me wrong, these don't have that open back nature of a Sennheiser HD800. They don't have that open wide soundstage of a HD820, for example. They don't have the, that amazing sub-bass response tuned in with a mid-range that you'd get with an Audiophile LCD2 or LCD3. But what they do in terms of the overall sound, the comfort, the weight, the clamp, everything comes together, which means that the sound quality just, for me, they were just my favourite sounding headphones I've come across, and they were such a delight when I was listening to my music. So let's go through the overall sound frequencies. First off, let's talk with the sub-bass. Now, the sub-bass is present. These headphones have always been known for having really nice low-end meat to them. Something that you wouldn't hear on a Hi-Fi Man Sundara. Something you wouldn't hear on a Sennheiser HD820 or a HD800S. Whereas these just produce that low-end rumble that I really was loving, and from music and even games, that sub-bass frequency there was just really beautiful to listen to. It just extends, and that meaty type of sound you get from these wooden cups really comes through. I think it would be further improved if you could dampen the cups yourself and you just put some dampening material or some little bit of foam inside. I think there you'd even improve that sub-bass extension and really get that meatiness out of it from the headphones. But anyway, basing on stock pads and stock cups, I must say I was quite impressed, to say the least. Now, the mid-bass has plenty of punch. You have got that really nice mid-bass punch slam in your face. You feel that bass. Now, it's not the same thing that could be said about other headphones out there on the market. Other headphones kind of, not say struggle, but they subdue the mid-bass impact because they're favouring the mids. So here you got plenty of mid-bass impact, and it was very much in terms of sub-bass and mid-bass comparison to my completely modified D2000s, and with even the pads, I felt that these headphones were pretty much identical to these Denon headphones. However, that's where everything changed. The mid-range on these headphones, love it. Absolutely love it. It's sublime. It is, don't get me wrong, it's a bit V-shaped. It's a little bit warm. It's a little bit recessed. Comparing it to HD800s, HD820s, you're comparing it to Audiophile headphones, these will sound recessed. But then, in terms of price, and I know I shouldn't be comparing price and form factor and everything, but it all comes together, doesn't it, when you're getting headphones. So when it comes to weight, these are far more comfortable than Audiophile headphones. Then it came to the actual price of them. They're a quarter of the price of the Sennheiser headphones that I mentioned, and they're not discontinued like my Denon headphones. So when it came to the overall mid-range reproduction, I just loved it so much. The way that it was portrayed is very, very good. It's accurate. It's way more forward sounding than my D2000s. It just sounds perfect to my ears and to the music I was listening to, such as R&B, dance music, bit of trance, jazz music, that type of music. It just really excelled so well. Again, as I said, they're slightly V-shaped. Don't get me wrong, they're not flat sounding, they're not mid-centric, they're not, you know, accentuating the mids. They're just a little bit soft, but so good. And way more of a step up over my Denons. You know, when I was listening to music, I just didn't want to listen to my Denons. I know I love these little things, but I just kept gravitating towards the Teak headphones. They're just so lovely. Moving on to the highs, yet again, great extension. Again, not to the point where you're gonna, you know, listen to cymbals that are coming from far and wide like you'd hear on some Sennheiser open backs, but when it came to hearing non-sibilant highs which do extend and have that little sparkle and that excitement you want on music, these had them. Then we move on to the soundstage. Now the soundstage, there's loads of different elements when it comes to closed back headphones, specifically with wooden sort of enclosures. Soundstage has so many different variants to it. Specifically, let's talk about the width and the depth. Now these are closed back headphones. Now there are some crazy mods you could do with your headphones. You could even make these semi-open back if you really wanted to drill a hole in them. Crazy mods have been done in the past to the Denon headphones, and you could do it exactly the same with the EMU Teak. Now I can say, as closed back headphones, they just sounded nice. They didn't sound like they were too claustrophobic. They didn't sound like the width and depth was being sacrificed because you listen to closed back headphones, whereas the open back headphones have that really expansive soundstage. Don't get me wrong, they're very much closed back headphones. They're not going to compete with the airiness and the openness that you're going to get with like the Hi-Fi Mansandara or the Sennheiser other AH-D5000 headphones. However, they do give you a really nice meaty width and depth. Now the reason I wanted to say meaty in there is because that's something you don't get from open back headphones, a meaty type of sound signature, or you don't get from a set of headphones that have plastic enclosures or Pyrex type of enclosures. These headphones have that sort of tonality, that beautiful meatiness that you like when it comes to listening to a set of closed back headphones. So when it came to the soundstage, I was really impressed. There was nothing there that I was, you know, concerned about. And listening to music specifically, sounds came in the right way. Positional cues, instruments coming from the left whilst vocals came to the right, vice versa. Hearing, let's say, Alicia Keys live on the piano and you hear the crowd coming from the background, but you can hear the piano at the front and her voice, and then really, really good. No complaints when it came to music. I was so impressed with how these sounded. So overall, I know it's been a really long video, but I wanted to cover absolutely everything, and I wanted to cover it in a way that you guys can really see and sense that I'm coming from an enthusiast sort of background. I'm coming from someone who owns headphones that they're kind of, they're the successors of the headphones I listen to. And there are so many things that I loved about them, but then there are some things that I really disliked about them. So let's talk about the cons first. Cable, horrible. Pads, definitely could do with an upgrade. Padding inside the, in terms of the pads themselves, could do with some extra padding as well. Construction and build quality, good, but you might be able to see after a long period of use, they're going to start fraying, just like the old Denons did. And a lot of people reported problems in terms of build quality and sturdiness of both the cup or the driver being held to the headband assembly. So build quality can be a little bit hit and miss, especially after, let's say, 5 years of usage. And I can say that from experience. I mean, I got the headphones, right? So that's something to be mindful of. And then gaming performance. That sound stage and the instrument separation and the positional cues in gaming just didn't work. It just seemed off, and I don't know how to pinpoint it. If you've got any comments of how I could try and figure it out, definitely let me know in the comments below. Good things, however, design. Beautiful design. I love it so much. Classic sort of headband, which doesn't really age. Of course, I said about the build quality issues, but the design of it itself, really nice. Headband assembly at the top, padding, really nice. Padding around the pads themselves, stock pads, decent, but could be improved, as I mentioned before. Sound quality, incredible. Best closed back headphones I have ever come across, period. They are my go-to headphones if I wanted closed back sound, meaty sound, and just overall presentation when it comes to listening to music. No other headphones I've come across that have not been discontinued or are ridiculously expensive can compete with these headphones. Again, there's loads of headphones out there, and there's a lot of headphones I haven't heard. I've heard in excess of 300 different audio-related products, demoed over 500 audio-related products, and these are my go-to closed-back headphones. So would I recommend them? You be the judge. I've given you the pros and cons. I'm not going to say yes or no. There's pros and cons that might, put you off or draw you towards them, but I will say it again. I love the sound quality you get, or I get, shall I say, with the EMU Teak. So there we go, guys. I've been Totally Dubbed. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review. It's been detailed, it's been really in-depth, it's covered all the bases, at least as far as I'm aware, and it's been honest, unpaid, and completely independent, which is something that's quite a rarity nowadays on YouTube. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care, and bye-bye.